Hi, it's me, Sarah from Someday Sarah.
I'm getting ready to design a crochet blanket with a picture of a skeleton on it. One of my favorite filet crochet projects that I've designed was my dancing skeleton crochet doily. I'm going to make a blanket using the same pixel grid that I created to make it. This time, instead of using fine thread, I will use size 4 worsted yarn and a 6mm hook. I'm going to make it so much bigger than my original filet crochet version of it. I may even add little skulls all the way around the outside to make it even bigger. I created a poll a little while back asking you, my viewers, which type of crochet designs I should choose to make this. And I received a vote for each of Filet Crochet, Corner to Corner, and Mosaic Crochet. From there, I did a much bigger dive into Google to search for styles of crochet blankets. I looked for any type or style of crochet that would work for a blanket with 1 or 2 colors, which would allow a picture to show up easily. I am self-taught in crochet and don't know the many different names of crochet styles, while at the same time I've actually been doing them in variations for many years. I have been crocheting since I was about 8 or 9 years old, so it's been over 40 years. When I was younger, all designs that I made were done using single crochet while working over any colors that I wasn't currently using. I have discovered that this is called Tapestry crochet and most often only uses 2 colors. I created a small pixel grid of a skull to create some samples for types of crochet to see which one I like the best.
The first one that I made was a filet crochet to see how much a picture would show up with a bigger hook and yarn. I didn't expect it to work well and I was right. You could hardly make out the image. This type of filet crochet would work best with a finer yarn and a smaller hook so that stitches would be much tighter together, similar to my original dancing skeleton doily.
The next sample that I created was Tapestry. Since I already knew how to make this and had done many in the past, it was easy to work on. I have also seen this referred to as graphghan. It is when the pattern is in a grid, similar to a cross stitch or pixel art, where each square corresponds to 1 stitch of the crochet. Since I want to make the size of my samples similar, I made each square equal to a 3x2 square of single crochet. Since my sample required me to go back and forth as opposed to working in a round, the sides of my pictures didn't line up the stitches and gave the skull a little bit of a jagged edge to it, here and here. When you do tapestry in a round, the stitches line up much more evenly. Apparently, if you learn how to do right-handed crochet one way and left-handed the other way, the stitches should line up better. In terms of simplicity, this one was an easy one for me, especially when only working with 2 colors, but I don't really like the definition of the stitches in the picture. Fair Isle is similar to Tapestry, but it has floats or stretches of yarn on the back instead of hiding the stitches inside the other stitches. I have been a knitter for almost as long as I've crocheted, and I've never been a fan of getting my fingers caught in the floats on Fair Isle sweaters, and usually tuck them into stitches similar to Tapestry crochet. With Fair Isle crochet, you have to work in the round because you want to keep all of your floats on one side of your work only. The third sample that I worked with was Corner to Corner. I have tried to do corner to corner once before and got a little bored, and I didn't like the texture very much, so I gave up. This time I pressed on because I figured it would be a soft and flowy version for a blanket. With the corner to corner, you work in a line from side to side, but on a diagonal. So you go like this. You work across, creating squares of 4 double crochets to represent each block of color. These squares then create a pixel style picture into your blanket. When you are not using a color, you can have a little bobbin of yarn to wait till you get back to that section again. And when you return on your next pass, you pick it up. This style of crochet is called intarsia. Intarsia is when you have bobbins to hold the colors while they are out of work. Sometimes when you're able to carry the yarn colors over, and sometimes it's too far, so you have to use another bobbin. I have done intarsia when knitting on my knitting machine in the past, but I found this process for this project to be a little too tedious for the crochet. The unpredictability of what was going to happen with each bobbin, whether it carried or weighted or where it was going to go next, was frustrating for me. If I'm going to be making a big blanket, I want to be creative enough to be interesting, but also relaxing enough that I can multitask while working on it. I often watch TV while doing my crochet projects. The final sample that I worked on was Mosaic Crochet. It is a type of overlay crochet. I have never done mosaic crochet before, but I have done many types of project that require stitches to be dropped down over top of other stitches. Right away, I could see that with mosaic crochet, that the stitches and the color changes had the best definition of all the samples. After Googling a few tutorials found here on YouTube, I picked up the pattern rather quickly. This is the first pattern that I looked at. I got halfway through the video and ran with it. She was so good at explaining everything. You only use one color of yarn at a time and vary between single crochets and double crochets depending on whether the color is hidden or showing for each row. You don't carry colors with mosaic crochet. I did go back and finish the video and see she also has so many more types of stitches that I can learn in the future. Her pillows are amazing too. After a few rows, I looked at the back of my work and I expected to see just stripes, but then I found these ridges where the front pattern had changed color here and here. And I didn't like the look of that or the feel of it. It was bumpy. So I went back to Google and I found a tutorial for how to tuck in those ridges as you went along. The final results were much better, like up here. And you can see the stripes of the colors. This is the tutorial that I used. The tutorial seemed to have different edges than the first one that I looked at. They were more solid. So I'm gonna go back and figure out how to do that as well. I will search other tutorials before I get to work on my big project. I have clearly chosen to make my blanket using Mosaic Crochet, and I can't wait to get started. Another comparison that I've made between the different styles of crochet is the ends of the yarn. I don't think anyone really likes to weave in their ends. The Filet Crochet only has the two, the start and the finish. The Tapestry also has very few ends to tie in. The corner to corner has many to tie in. That's probably got a lot to do with my experience with the project, but to me, that's too many. The corner to corner has many random ends all over the place, and due to the loose weave, they actually might be harder to hide. The Mosaic Crochet has lots of ends, but they're all on the ends. The ends on the Mosaic Crochet can be woven in, they can be tucked into tassels on the sides, they could be covered in a trim. And one video I watched showed how to weave in the ends while going back and forth at the beginning of each row. I haven't yet decided how I'm going to work my ends in for my project. The very last comparison is the thickness of the blanket. The Filet Crochet would be incredibly light, but it would also have lots of holes everywhere. The Tapestry Crochet, using just the two colors, would be a nice medium weight blanket, and I could like that. The corner to corner would make a light to medium weight blanket, but have a nice solid surface. The Mosaic Crochet would be the thickest of the blankets and use up the most yarn. I think I would enjoy a thicker blanket better than the rest. With more experience with each of these types of crochet, I may have a different opinion, but as someone who hasn't done much of this before, this is how it went for me. I hope that you've enjoyed exploring the different types of crochet for making a blanket with me. I'm excited to get this one started. I do think that it will take a while for me to make it, but I will periodically make updates here in my shorter videos. If you want to work out how to make your own pixel grids to work from, look back to my Filet Crochet Step 1 video. You can also use Excel to make bigger grids. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you have enjoyed my video. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.